This is the new Honda Jazz. Now, the old Honda Jazz was a little bit like a Stanner stairlift. It helped old people get around. This new one, though, is a bit more like a robotic exoskeleton because it will also help old people get around, but it'll do it in a much more high-tech way. In this video, I'm going to explain why and let you know if this new Jazz is any good. Let's start off this review by talking about the price. So the new Honda Jazz starts from just under £19,000, which may sound like quite a lot for a small car like this, but then every model is an EHEV, stands for Hybrid Electric Vehicle, and the E at the beginning, I don't know, MDMA? Only joking, yeah, electric, Honda's electric range. So that all bumps up the price because you've got battery, electric motor, an engine and an automatic gearbox. So that's the reason it costs so much.
This new Jazz looks a lot different than the old one.
I sort of like the face, but then there's something about the way it has this underbite. It reminds me of something. Now I wonder if the editor can guess what it is.
No, it's not that. It's not that either.
What is it? Yes, it's that. Now you're not going to be able to unsee it.
This new Jazz is also lower than the old car, but it's longer. As a result, it looks more normal and less MPV-like. Though there is still this bit here, this extra bit of glass, which reminds me of the bridge of a ship. The back end of this car is probably the best angle, really. It's just a no-nonsense hatchback. There's no fake vents or anything like that, and even the exhaust, it's real. They're not messing around, Honda. Now, you can actually get a version called the Cross Style, which has body cladding to make it look a bit like an off-roader. Yeah, I wouldn't bother with that one either. The engine choice with the Honda Jazz is pretty simple in the UK. You get it with a 1.5 litre petrol engine mated to 2 electric motors. That's why you've got these bright orange cables there. Now combined, the system produces 109 horsepower, which should also give decent economy as well. So Honda claims 61 miles per gallon. That's why they've named the engine Earth Dreams Technology. Now, in other markets, you can actually just get the car with a 1.5 litre petrol engine and a manual gearbox, but not here in the UK. We just have the one option, which is fine, fine. Honda says this little Jazz should be able to do 0 to 60 in 9.4 seconds, but I'm going to see for myself. So I've got my specialist timing gear here. Now, this is a first. I don't think many people launch Honda Jazzes, and the only timing gear that you'll find in these cars are the ones in the owner's pacemaker. Sorry, I did an old person gag again. Enough of that, let's see what this car can do. Go. Ooh, we are accelerating. Yeah. That is 60. Ooh, 0 to 60, 8.9 seconds. That is actually what my old XR2 used to do it in, back in the 80s. Here on the inside, the Jazz is really quirky. I actually like the interior design. It's interesting compared to your average Corsas, your Polos, your Fiestas. It's just different. It's good. Though there are a few weird things. For instance, the climate controls are slightly offset to the left, which is bothering me. The digital driver's display could be a little bit larger and fill this space properly. Then there's the big dimmer switch for it. Why did they make that so big? So Honda, really. And then there's the quality. I mean, it's a Honda, so it's not going to break, but certain things you touch feel quite cheap. Then other bits are softish touch, so that softish touch up there, that's slightly less soft, but still semi-soft. Sounds a bit rude. This area where you rest your arm looks soft, but it's actually quite hard. Same with here, looks soft, is quite hard, and that's a little bit annoying. I do like the steering wheel design though, it's quite quirky like the rest of the cabin. And the enamel effect on the controls just seem really posh. And the seat position is brilliant, and you can quite easily jack the seat up as well. And because it's quite a tall roof, you can go really quite high to get a great view out if you're a shorty. The thing I really like about Honda seats is this, look. Pull that lever up and you can just do that. Japanese cars tend to have that. I much prefer it than the ratchet system you get on European cars because it's just quicker to find your ideal position like that. There we go. And if you need to, of course, you can move the steering like that, though you could do with moving up and down just a little bit more. The Jazz may technically be a small car, but it's actually pretty big here in the back. For starters, the rear doors open really, really wide to make it easy to get in. And then once you are in, you've got loads of space, loads of knee room, decent amount of headroom, I can stretch out under the seat in front too. It's all rather impressive, isn't it? What's not so impressive though is the central seat if you need to carry 3 people at once, because it's very narrow. It's fine if you need to carry someone who's cut in half down the middle of their body. They could just about fit on here, but otherwise not so good. At least there isn't too much of a hump in the floor, so if you do decide to torture people by having them all squeezed in here, there is enough room for all their feet, if maybe not all of their bodies. I do like the fact that the windows in the back are quite big. And do the windows go all the way down? Come on. Oh, I've got to turn it on. That's annoying. I've got to turn it on properly. Doubly annoying. But there you go. They go pretty much all the way down, so you can rest your arm out there if you want to, if that's your kind of thing. But yeah, overall, in the back, fine for adults, fine for kids. It's very comfortable for a small car. When it comes to the boot, the Jazz isn't the largest, just over 300 litres. Something like a Renault Clio has 390 litres, so it's a third bigger again. However, that doesn't really explain the practicality of this boot, because it's actually very, very useful. The opening is huge, it's dead easy to get things in. There's hardly any load lip either, which is great as well. And you probably noticed the actual load height is very, very low. Great for older people who might struggle to lift things into the boot. I mean, look at this. In a normal hatchback, I wouldn't be able to climb in quite as easily. Not that anyone's ever going to do that. I'm just using it as an illustration. You can probably see this one has a special mat there which you can wipe clean. But underneath here, shh, don't tell anyone. It's a secret between you and me, right? Look, there's this area here where you can keep things away from prying eyes. Now, if you need to carry loads of things, you can fold down the rear seats. And I really love the mechanism on the seats. It's very clever the way it leans forward and moves out the way. So it lies very, very flat. I mean, look at that. Now, there is a bit of a ridge, but the way they've designed the boot, it's not too much of a problem. You can easily push things up that ridge and towards the front of the car. But there's another brilliant element about these seats. Check this out, right? Say you've got an object that's taller than will fit in there. Well, no problemo. Put the seats back. Then lift up the bases, lock them into place, and then you can carry much taller items. Look, you can even use it to just walk through the car. Get out of my way. The Jazz's practicality doesn't end with those clever rear seats. It's also got lots of useful in-car storage spaces, as I'll demonstrate now. So the glove box may look quite small and it's filled by the manual, but that's not such a problem, because underneath here, look, you have some more space for your snacks. And then underneath here, there's some more space still for some more snacks. Then you've got a couple of cup holders there. This first one is quite good and deep, and you can put a medium-sized flask in there. The one behind it is just in the way of this armrest, so if you've got a bottle, look, it won't shut. It'd be fine with a can, and anyway, you can carry this in the cup holder you have near the steering wheel. There's one over the other side as well. The good thing about that is it's right in front of the air vent, so you can actually cool it with the air conditioning. There's also a storage area down here for your mobile phone, so you can charge it. Look, there's one charging point there, another one there, and if you want to do it the old-fashioned way, not with USB, there's a 12-volt socket there as well. Just take this because I'll need it in a moment. Got some decent sized door bins, not the largest, but they can still hold a big bottle. Will the ones in the back hold the big bottle though? Let's find out. Yeah, no problem at all actually. Then you've got some big pockets here on the seat backs, and then this extra little storage pocket here. That's why I need my mobile phone, to show you that you can just put your phone there and then watch some stuff on it. And if you need to charge it, you have 1 and 2 USB ports down here. Here in the back, you'll notice the Isofix anchor points there. Very easy to get to. It's actually very easy to fit a child seat in the back of this car, because you've got a lot of space to manoeuvre a seat, even those large, bulky, rear-facing seats. The only thing I can complain about is the fact that there is no folding armrest in the back. It looks like there is, but there's not. It's just trying to trick you. And that brings me on to 5 annoying things about the Honda Jazz. In order to be able to fit those clever flip-up rear seats, Honda has had to relocate the car's fuel tank to underneath the front seats. As a result, you get this bit of intrusion into the front footwell. It doesn't matter so much on the passenger side, but in the driver's side, because this car is an automatic, I'd like to sit like that, but then that intrusion is like rubbing against my ankle, and it's not quite as comfortable as it could be. Honda has a habit of fitting its cars with the world's most pathetic sounding horns. Let's see if they made an exception for the Jazz. No, they haven't. It's as beepy and as cartoony as ever. Yeah, it's not going to get anyone to get out of your way. It's more like you just say to them, "Hiya, you alright? I'm in a Honda." It's a bit annoying you don't get a light with the vanity mirror, so if it's dark you can't see yourself particularly well, though I guess that's a bonus if you're a Honda Jazz owner, because then you can't see all the wrinkles. The flat dashboard means that when it's quite sunny outside, you get a really bad reflection of it in the windscreen, and it just is a little bit distracting. The entry-level version of the Jazz gets steel wheels. What is this, like 1980 or something? It's a bit mean really on a car that starts from £19,000. And even this one that does have alloys, for some reason Honda has attached this kind of plasticky wheel trim to it, which looks crap. It's not all negative though. Here's 5 good things about this car. Honda's engineers have filled the engine mounts with a special shock-absorbing resin so that it minimises the amount of vibrations from the engine going into the cabin. You can get an app for your mobile phone which allows you to lock and unlock the Jazz remotely. It'll let you know if the alarm's going off. And if you lend the car to someone, it'll let you know just how far they're travelling in it so you can keep an eye on them, make sure they're not taking the piss. When you're driving quickly down a twisty road and you turn into a corner, the car will automatically brake the inside wheel slightly to help the car rotate and get its nose turned. Honda has reduced the thickness of this windscreen pillar compared to the old Jazz by 50%. So instead of having 69 degrees of visibility, you've now got 90. Personally, I quite like 69. Honda has mounted the rear seat belts in a way that they don't snag the rear seats when you fold them down. Look at that. Brilliant. Now let's see what this little Jazz is like to drive. First off, visibility. The windscreen is beautiful, I love it. You get a great view forward, and these extra windows here really help. Good view out the back window as well, makes this quite an easy car to park. So we'll go at parking it. A lot of the general manoeuvring and lower speed stuff is just done in electric power only mode. So when you're just pootling around town, listen, silent, apart from the battery. And when the petrol motor does kick in, look, there we go, it's not too intrusive. It is a relaxing little car to drive. I'll tell you another good thing about it, turning circle. It's really tight, it's just over 10 metres. The turning circle is actually tighter than something like a Volkswagen Polo or a Ford Fiesta, and that really helps yet again when you're manoeuvring around town. And the steering is pretty responsive as well, so when you're just like darting through your multi-storey car park, it's all good. I'm quite impressed. Now, one of the things about hybrids is that their brakes can feel a little bit jerky because the first part of your braking is actually recouping lost energy and putting it into the battery rather than actually using the friction brakes, and the transition between the two can be a bit odd, but on this they've got it just right. It's really smooth, it's not jerky at all, it feels completely natural. You can also put the car into B mode, which is extra regenerative braking, so when you lift off the accelerator it just slows down a little bit more than it normally would. That means you can just drive it around using the accelerator pedal when you're doing lower speeds without actually having to touch the brakes. Now let's just check out the suspension. So it's generally quite soft and comfy, though occasionally when you go over like potholes or stuff it can clunk a little bit more than in something like a Volkswagen Polo, but generally this car is still pretty comfy to drive. The Jazz's hybrid system does mean that it's ideal for in town, but it's not out of its depth when you get on the motorway either, so if you need to accelerate, you floor it, doing it from 40 miles an hour to 70. You might notice that the engine is a bit raucous when you accelerate, but it delivers sufficient performance to get you up to speed, and then it's all right at maintaining speed as well. You get a bit of wind noise, but that's about it. It's a fairly relaxing car to just cruise up the motorway in. What's it like on a country road? Yeah, that noise when you put your foot down is a bit annoying. Here's the first corner, it's pretty tight. It's sort of like the car is mooing. Moo, when you accelerate. It's the nature of the gearbox. It has a CVT gearbox. The way it works, it results in the engine's revs being held quite high, and that's why you get that woo sound. I can't really grumble too much about the handling. It sort of holds on and then it starts to just wash wide. And it does lean a little bit more than a Fiesta, and really if you want a small car that's fun to drive, a Fiesta is a much better bet. But if you don't want fun, you want something that's just going to get you from A to B comfortably and using very little fuel to do so, this is actually a really good choice. I like it more than I thought I ever would. Finally, let's talk about the Jazz's equipment list. So the range kicks off with the SE model. It gets LED headlights, climate control. You also get adaptive cruise control, which uses a radar to keep you a safe distance from the car in front. It even includes lane keeping assist, so it'll steer to keep the car in lane. What's less good though is the fact that this car comes with a 5-inch infotainment screen as standard. It's not even a touch screen, it's pretty basic and very horrible. Move up to the SR model and then you get this 9-inch touchscreen, and the infotainment system itself is actually a lot better than Honda's old ones. It's simple to use. It's a bit like a mobile phone really. You just dab on the icon you want for the function. You have a home shortcut button and there's some other shortcut buttons along the bottom. It includes Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, so you can just run your maps from your phone for navigation if you want. But generally this infotainment system is pretty nice and easy to use. The SR model also gets part leather seats, and it includes front and rear parking sensors too. Then there's the EX model, which is what this car is, and it gets a reversing camera, inbuilt satellite navigation for the infotainment system, heated seats and steering wheel, plus blind spot monitoring. At the top of the range is the Crossstar EX. So that has all the styling upgrades I've already mentioned, plus an 8-speaker instead of a 4-speaker stereo. So then what's my final verdict on the new Honda Jazz? Should you avoid it, consider it, shortlist it, or just go right ahead and buy it? Well, I reckon if you're looking for a small car that's very practical, is well built, is very reliable, is very economical, and you're willing to pay a little bit extra for those features, you should shortlist it. It's actually a very good car. Do you agree with my verdict? Let me know in the comments section. Also, please subscribe to this channel for more videos, and if you click on the deals box to the right, you can see how much you can save on a new car at CarWow. Or click on the video windows below to watch another of my videos.